Right, so what did you do for your education?
Higher education or all of my education?
Oh, no, higher education, yeah.
I went to what was called Leicester Polytechnic.
I'm from Leicester.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Whereabouts in Leicester are you from?
Council.
Oh, yeah. Did you go to Council College?
No, I went to Leicester College.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I went to Council College and Leicester College.
Oh,
We have so much in common. I'm from Blaby.
Are you? Oh,
Yeah.
that's next door. That's
So
quite cool.
I went to Leicester Poly, which then turned into, sorry everyone, boring
Sorry,
for you,
not
but
sorry.
we're really having a great time. I went to, which then changed to De Montfort University, which is what it is now.
Oh, that's all right then. Right, who inspired you to do what you do?
When I was 21, I was in a band, I was into music, and I went to the local arts centre and I saw a dance piece. And I only went because I really liked the publicity, I really liked the photograph. And it was by the Chumleys and the Fanshaws by Lee Anderson, choreographer Lee Anderson. And I just thought it was amazing. And I sort of went, I sort of fancy doing something. I've always liked dancing, but I've never thought of it as a thing that you could do. And so I thought, I'm going to give that a go. So I decided that I would try to do. I was quite interested in theatre anyway, but I'd never seen a dance piece or been involved in any dance. And so then I went and I did a degree in dance.
Oh, that's all
I
right.
went to Leicester College and did an A-level in dance first.
What, the Abbey Park campus one?
I did.
That's the one that I was at.
There you go. So much.
I know, just so much.
Yeah, and then I did a degree in dance at Leicester Poly.
Oh, that's all right then. Right, what gives you your ideas? Like, what's your sort of thought process? Especially behind this, what's your thought process?
So this show has a very odd beginning because we started out making a completely different show. We intended to make a show about controversial works of art. We did a load of research, we interviewed lots of people, and we started making that show and then realised it was really good and really interesting, but it wasn't a show. It wasn't it was actually, we're still probably going to end up doing something like that project, but it's actually more like an interview project. So we thought, oh, we need to do something else. And Tom said, why don't we make something about the body, which I think we wouldn't have done as a dance company if we were still a dance company. It's sort of quite a boring thing to do. It's in the context of a dance company, making something about the body is so, and inside, you know, it's sort of a looking inside itself, I think, for a dancer it just seems obvious. But actually as a comedy show, it felt like there was a lot of possibility in it for us. And as soon as we decided to do it, we started coming up with loads of really good ideas. So we went, yeah, that's got to be. So we started out just generally thinking we would make something about the body. And then as the process developed, we started to talk about how we felt about our own bodies. It sort of drew us towards that. You know, we're both in our 40s. Things have changed quite a lot. Both of us used to be quite athletic, and now we're not. And we don't engage in our bodies in the same way that we used to when we were dancers. We have a different relationship, and also, you know, noticing that the sort of concerns in the world about sort of body image and sort of embarrassing bodies and body functions and things like that. And we wanted to make something about, as we went on, we sort of started to go, yeah, but it's sort of interesting. That's all about how we feel about how the body looks, how our bodies look, but what about how we feel about our bodies, how we actually feel about our bodies, and how different people feel about their bodies, and what is it, how does it feel if you've got an injury, how does it feel if you're disabled, how does it feel if you're young, how does it feel if you're old? Not how does it feel what it looks like, but how does it feel? And we wanted to make, gradually we sort of start to get a bit campaigny about it in ourselves, because we felt like we wanted to say something about how brilliant the body is, how amazing it is, and how lucky we all are to have one to move around in and do amazing things with. And it's easily forgotten because we get sort of focused on negative aspects of our own bodies a lot and start blaming our bodies, and then why do we do that, and what's the sort of philosophical world of how we view our bodies as separate from us rather than as us. You know, how do we have a sense, you know, so we talked about that a lot, and that sort of comes out in the show, but also there is just a lot of stupid messing about with our bodies.
Oh, that's the best though, isn't it? What do you enjoy most about what you do? Not just this, but in all aspects, sort of thing.
That's an interesting question. We are, I mean, fundamentally, Tom and I we like working with each other. We've worked with each other since 1995, and we've made things just us two since 1998. And we really like that. We really like each other's company, and we like that creative partnership. And the most enjoyable thing, the two most enjoyable things about what we do are making the shows, which are also it's also demanding and interesting, but it is fun as well, and performing the shows. And pretty much everything else is a right royal pain in the arse. You know, every other aspect of what we do around our work is not. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy travelling. I don't enjoy managing the company. I'm just telling you what I don't enjoy now. I should be telling you what I do enjoy, which is those two things: making the shows and performing the shows.
Well, you covered 2 questions there anyway, so it's even better. Why do you think physical comedy is important?
I don't think I do. I mean, I have a sort of funny thing, which is that I don't really think anything is important. I think philosophically, my position is, life is what it is. I don't want to. I find it difficult to sort of campaign on behalf of any of the arts in general, or not. I sort of feel strongly that it's a really good thing in the education system to have the art, because it's a nice thing to have in your life. I don't particularly think that physical comedy is important. I think it's good to laugh. But I wouldn't make a claim for what I do to be important. And I think that people who make claims for what they do to be important are lying, or they have there's some kind of, they have such a stake in it that they can't see that it's no more or less important than anything else.
Fair enough. Why a duo and not stand-up?
I don't know really. I think we just started making work together and we liked it, so we carried on doing that. We've made stuff with groups. We make a lot of work outside of just the work that we make together. We've made quite a lot of stuff with big groups, big community groups, with us in it as well, and sort of other performers in our shows. We mainly, these days, it is just us two. That's partly economic, but actually the economics of the work, for the economics of the work, it would be better if it was just one of us, because it's cheaper. It's easier to make a living as a stand-up comedian than it is as a double act, which is why you don't see many double acts, because the economics of it work towards you being one person with a microphone. Turn up, you do 20 minutes, you earn 200 quid, you go away.
Oh God.
You know, that the economics of it work like that. Doesn't work quite so well if there's 2 of you. But also, we're not really a comedy double act. We sort of are, but we make theatre shows, so we have other stuff. I think it's just because we both like the creative drive that each other gives to the other one, that we have that. And a lot of people envy us for that, because most it's very hard to keep a collaboration going for that amount of time, and it is really beneficial to the outcome of the shows. For me, I think so.
Oh, okay. What has been your favourite performance in your career so far?
God, what's been my favourite performance? Is it my favourite show or my favourite
what you've
individual
done.
performance?
Yeah, what you've done, yeah.
But the actual night or day of the performance, or the show
Just
itself?
the show, yeah, show itself,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a more easy question.
Yeah.
Performance, okay, oh my God. There has been some though. That is hard, because it's always sort of the most recent one is the one, so I really like this show. The sort of second show that we made together, which was called This Is Modern, that I have a lot of love for that show, because at that time we were a very small company, and we were based up in the northwest, and we only did regional touring, and we had that show, and then that took us all over the world. So we went to America and China and all over most countries in Europe. It was translated into Mandarin, it was translated into French. We performed it in French. We didn't perform it in Mandarin. It was just subtitled. So that's a great show for us, because that changed things for us in a very positive way. I guess the show that I think is the best, I think there's 3 shows that I think are the best shows that we've made. One is called This Is Now, which is based on the first Now That's What I Call Music album. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
So, okay, good.
Now 69.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it was based on the music from the first one, and it was about nostalgia. I'm really proud of that show. I think it's really good. I think it balances sort of, it's basically a load of love stories and a sort of philosophical discussion of nostalgia, and it's set in the 80s. I think it's a really good show. The last show that we made, which was called Quiet Act of Destruction, which is about 2 villages in conflict with each other, and we get the audience to play the 2 villages, and they end up throwing stuff at each other and having a wild old time, and that is really good. I'm really proud of that, and I'm really proud of this show as well.
Okay, right. If you could give one piece of advice to someone starting out, what would it be?
God, one piece of advice. Make sure you enjoy what you're doing. And that you're doing it, one piece of advice, make sure you are doing the thing that you are enjoying, because if you make a success out of it, then you'll be doing it for a long time, and if you're, it sort of pressures on you to sort of be more like this or more like that, and what I've found is, when I was a student, because you have loads of influences and loads of things, you sort of have a drive towards wanting to maybe be like something that is not necessarily the thing that you really want, but you sort of feel like that's better than you, or something, or better than the thing that you are actually more enjoy doing. And it took me a while to find my place where I was going, oh yeah, this is the thing, this is my thing, this is what I really like. And then that makes things easier. But also, if it's a success, then you're doing the thing that you enjoy doing, rather than making a success of something that you go, this is a bit of a burden. Because it is a burden anyway. It's hard work to make it all happen. We're in the middle of, right now, we've sort of come to the end of a 5-year period where we've been driving towards particular aims and ambitions, and we've reached those, and we're now going to set out another, we're sort of deciding what we're going to do for the next 5 years, which might take us away from making live work, or we don't quite know what it's going to be. But that's all hard. You know, there's a load of hard things about keeping it going, about making it work as a living, because it's not, you know, nobody makes tons of money out of doing it. It's not easy. So it's worth making sure that if you're going to make that sort of commitment to it, that it's something that you really like.
When did you know you wanted this for your career?
I think I didn't know that until just before I left university. I made a decision that is what to go for it. I sort of went, yeah. All the way through university, I'd just been enjoying myself. I just enjoyed it. I'd only done it out of enjoyment. I didn't have a job when I went back into education. I've been on the dole for some time, and then I got a job that I really hated, and then I went, I don't want to do this. So I went back into education really to get out of the job that I was doing, partly. And so I never had a sense, and I left school in a time sort of like this, really, in a sort of recession time. And I left school with no hope or ambition for anything, for a job or anything. And I spent really sort of 5 years aimlessly wandering, and then went back into education. I just enjoyed it, and it wasn't until I left university, I was 26 when I left university. Yeah. Just before I left, I went, I'm going to move to London. I made a decision, I'm going to move to London, I'm going to go to auditions, I'm going to try and be a dancer, I'm going to try and do it. And so yeah, I'd say that's when I decided to try and make a career out of it. I didn't really think of it as a career even then. I just thought I'm going to try and be a performer, be a dancer, and see what happens. Take that risk.
Do you collaborate with other artists? Yeah.
Yeah, this show we've worked with a composer. All the music is made especially for the show, and that's been really good. And he's really nice and interesting guy, and he works in a really good way, and we had a great time working with him. We've worked with lots of different... The first show I ever made was a collaboration between me and a composer and a designer, which was really good. I've worked with designers a bit. We worked with a designer on this, but I wouldn't say it was a collaboration. But we have made a big project with that designer, the same designer who did this, which is a big community and professional project, which we're waiting to hear about whether we're waiting to hear about a sort of touring bid that we've made to the Arts Council, which we'll find out in the next 2 weeks, which is a big mid-scale project with 30 performers in, and a massive set, and it's sort of set on a desert island. And it's about Hercules. It's a cabaret based on the story of Hercules. And we worked a lot with it. We knew that was going to be a big visual project because it was initially an outdoor project. So we found a designer to work with, and she had her input in it is huge. So that, yeah, designers. I mean, it's a funny word, collaboration. We don't really. We're a very tight collaboration, Tom and I. And I wouldn't say that we've ever opened that out to go, and we're going to work with a visual artist and we're going to start working with them and we don't know what it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? When we start working with people, we're very open in the way that we work with people, and we want to get our ideal is for them to engage in the show to the extent that they feel that it's theirs and that they have power and control over what they do, but that's fed through the relationship with us. I we've never done a project where we've sort of gone, let's start at the beginning and let's work with this composer and this designer and let's just decide together what we're going to do. It's always been a sort of the initial artistic beginnings of the show is always between Tom and I.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yep. I've got one more question, if you don't mind me jumping in. You mentioned the show you're currently working on is Arts Council funded. Are any of your previous shows Arts Council funding? Do you get a lot of funding from the Arts Council or other funding bodies? How, I know you don't like this side of it, but how does that work for you?
All of our shows have been funded by the Arts Council to some extent. Or they've been specially commissioned. So we made a show that was commissioned in France, which wasn't funded by the Arts Council, but did have some British Council money. We currently project funded. We had a sort of 3-year period leading up to 2011, which was the beginning of our. We had a sort of a development grant from the Arts Council, so we had a 3-year grant of £60,000 a year to do what we've done, which is to shift from being a dance company to being to opening out to a sort of comedy audience as well as theatre audiences. So to make that shift, the Arts Council supported that experiment to do that. And so we get project funding from the Arts Council for our shows. We've had that since before actually we started working together. Both of us had projects that were funded by the Arts Council before that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Get a little bit of a clap going. Hey!
Thank you.
Tiny clap.